All right, let's talk about Daniel Jones, a player who, I think it's interesting, right? Because we've seen this a couple times now where a player who maybe, was a first round pick but hasn't lived up to the hype has then bounced around, gotten in a different situation, and succeeded. We saw it with Baker Mayfield, we saw it with Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, right? It's not what usually happens, but it is a thing that does sometimes happen. And so, just thinking about that, I think Daniel Jones can check all of the boxes prior to, playing well, right? Was in a bad situation with the Giants, did show some flashes, enough flashes to get a $40 million a year contract, so he's certainly not hurting for money anytime soon. But mostly didn't work out, and didn't work out in part due to being in a rough situation for most of his career. The Giants really struggled to get talent around him. So now that he's going to the Colts, can he succeed? Well, let's talk about what went wrong, why he ultimately failed with the Giants, what were mistakes that he himself made, not just the situation around him, and then finally, is there ways that he can be better? So let's start off with, long preamble over. Let's start off with what you see on your screen. It's going to be a zone coverage concept that the defense is going to be in right here, and where Jones is going to start off looking is going to actually be towards his right, and it's a little bit unclear if that's just trying to look defenders off. Watch how when you see him take the snap, it's possibly just looking all the way over to the right, or because sometimes the helmet is angled like in one specific area, but you're actually looking a little bit further over. Just maybe that's happening here, or maybe he's just trying to look defenders off, because really the guy he wants to hit is the player close, on the hash marks, more towards the bottom of the screen. All of this is fine though. You want quarterbacks to use their eyes, whether it's just to see what's going on or to look guys off. All of that is good. One issue that you do see with Jones is he will get locked into whatever the situation is, whatever he needs to do. He kind of will just make that first read, or I guess I should say he'll make a decision whether it's working or not. Is kind of what he'll do sometimes. Like watch how quickly the ball gets out of his hands once he looks over. Look, he basically just the second he looks over, he throws, and the issue is he thought one of his receivers was somewhere. He was actually a little bit more towards the middle of the field, and then that results in an interception. That interception was called back due to penalty, but still the point still stands. Is it's not fully, either, hey, maybe it was a guy ran the wrong route, but still those are the things you kind of got to be aware of, and you do see this with Jones, as he will get very locked into a decision even if it's not the correct one. Although heading over to something like this, there definitely are scenarios where I'm like, I wonder if a good coach in a good situation can fix this kind of thing. So the play you're going to see on this one, it's a cover 3 zone that the Browns are going to be in, but it's an interesting concept where you have a receiver running a deep route that you see on the screen. When Jones takes the snap, a lot of times that route is not one that you expect to get too open. Usually the safety stays deep and covers that. Here, the safety has not stayed deep. He's currently standing on the face of that weird elf thing that they have on the 50-yard line. So because of that, for Daniel Jones, if he wants to throw this one down the field, he can. I like this decision by him. Let's take the shot here. Why not? Here is going to be the issue, and it's a very small thing that you wouldn't even notice if you're just watching the broadcast. But where do you want to put the ball? How far do you want to lead this receiver? Watch as when Jones makes this throw, he just throws it a little bit further down the field than that receiver was expecting. He kind of flattened out and went a little bit more at an angle than Jones was expecting. And just that little difference results in an incompletion. When you watch that live, you say, oh, Jones missed the throw. But you just wonder if they were more on the same page on really both of these last two plays. Those are completions instead of an interception that was called back and an incompletion. So, again, that could lead to the argument of perhaps Jones in a better situation here with the Colts could be better. I also think that there just were a lot of situations like this where this is going to be a heavy blitz, and given that it's a play action on top of it where a offensive lineman is going to be pulling over just because of the play action, it's going to create some issues. Watch how when this play begins, pretty much immediately Jones is in trouble. Not only is he in trouble right here, but an offensive lineman is currently holding, so you're under pressure and there's a holding penalty going on. Jones kind of does what he can here. Watch as he just scrambles out and, throws the ball away. Not a lot you can do in a situation like that. There were plays like this where it's like, okay, listen, Jones didn't make the play work, but I don't know if Tom Brady would have made that play work. In fact, I don't think he would have, right? Jones being able to scramble out and get rid of the football, again, didn't matter because there was a penalty, but at least it shows that he can kind of make a bad play less bad, right? But ultimately, sometimes that's all he could do on a lot of Giants plays was just make bad plays less bad, which is ultimately not going to result in an effective offense, right? Also, there's something like this, which I genuinely mean this, and people act like it's a joke when I say it, but I really think it's true. Daniel Jones, his value is in many ways him as a runner. Like, people should view him, or teams should view him as Justin Fields, like as someone who, he is a running quarterback. He is an effective runner, and he's really good at it. And I don't get why teams are so hesitant to use him that way. I get that he looks kind of like a dorky guy. Like, you don't think of him as like a great athlete, but he is, and that's how he should be viewed. On this play, watch how when he fakes the handoff, look at how much the edge rusher has completely been in on this. I mean, he's still tackling the poor halfback who doesn't even have the football, and now Jones has room to run. Now, there still is a Browns player who could come in and make a tackle, so it's not the easiest situation in the world for Jones. But watch how Jones does a really good job of rushing here. Now, unfortunately for him, there's, again, a holding penalty, because that's how the Giants roll, right? But again, these are good plays by Daniel Jones. You didn't get to see them too often, but you do wonder, again, just in a better situation, would we see these more frequently? And, like, I do think we see some flashes of him being able to just run an offense. Like, right here, what's going to happen is it's going to be a zone coverage concept. Jones is going to take the snap, and you see that where he's looking is he kind of can, sometimes what you can do is by where you're looking, you can then see other things that are about to open up. You see how those two Cleveland Browns players, you see where they're covering, right? Where they're both kind of covering more underneath routes. Well, you have a receiver who's going to be running a route that's a little bit further down the field, and because of those two sort of setup routes, clearing out that middle area, that route going a little bit further down the field could get open. Jones then gets over. This time he does make sure he can see that it's open and gets the ball there quickly enough to pick up some yards, right? It's nothing crazy, but it's effective football. So, like, listen, I don't know what to make of Daniel Jones exactly. I do think there is a chance he could be a Sam Darnold, who you then put him in a better situation, and he just looks like he's an effective player and is able to get another big contract. I don't think that's crazy. I do think it's fair to say, like, there are other issues with his game. As I brought up, like, he does oftentimes kind of get too reliant on the game script, even when that script isn't very good. Again, it's part of why I noticed that, because of how often those issues would happen. It's possible. And again, part of why he's not always on the same page. At a certain point, you have to put some of that blame on the quarterback as well, right? When these receivers are running one route and he thinks they're running something different, that could be coaching, that could be quarterback play. Tom Brady never had that issue, no matter who was his coach, right? Can't compare anyone to Tom Brady, just using it as a example. But I think that's fair to say. But yeah, I mean, listen, he's going to fight for the job in Indianapolis. We'll see if he gets any playing time at all. And if he does, I don't think it's a crazy world where, like, he can be an effective quarterback for them. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.